Coming up on Newswatch in Focus, some interesting residents have been moving into the Charleston area lately. We'll talk to two students from the Biological Sciences department at Eastern Illinois University about the increase in wild animals like foxes, woodchucks, and more, and why they're looking for shelter here in the city. Should we be concerned? We'll have the answer next. Stay tuned. Newswatch in Focus starts right now. Welcome and thanks for joining us for Newswatch in Focus. I'm your host, Kate Pleasant. Our topic this week is wildlife making the move toward urban areas. Charleston residents lately might have noticed more unusual animals not normally seen in an urban setting. There have been reports of woodchucks, coyotes, and other wild animals. Employees here at Eastern Illinois University have even deemed a frequently appearing fox the campus fox. And while it's not completely unusual for wildlife to move into cities, it can be concerning. According to several wildlife biologists I've talked to this week, animals have a variety of reasons for venturing into unfamiliar territory like urban areas. The reasons can range from decreasing natural resources to competition, curiosity, and everything in between. We'll talk to two students from Eastern Illinois University here in just a moment about what's causing animals to move into our cities and if we should be concerned. But first, here's more on that story from WEIU Newswatch.
Being in Charleston with all its homes and businesses, many people forget the forest is right in their backyard. And with that forest comes wildlife, and lots of it.
We get a lot of calls for raccoons, possums. Been getting some for groundhogs, getting more frequent calls on groundhogs, coyotes.
But around Eastern's campus, the fox seems to be the most popular critter.
Some of it is attributed to the lack of habitat that they normally live in out in the countryside. They actually have an opportunity to have food and some of the cover that they can raise some of their young in town.
But officials say these increases don't need to worry residents as long as they keep their distance.
Make sure that you're not doing anything to encourage them to be in the area, like feeding your animals outside and leaving the food bowl outside. If you see them out there and they seem to be awful comfortable in your area, go back in the house and grab some pots and pans or something that would make a lot of noise and step outside and scare them off. They will run away.
If problems continue with the animals, officials say to never try to remove the animal yourself.
Just stay clear of it. You know, don't mess with it. Just let it be. They're not going to be there to try to attack you. As long as you leave it alone. Don't try to catch it. Don't try to, unless you have direction or a license and all that to do so, just let it be.
In Charleston, I'm Sarah Keelanen reporting for WEIU Newswatch.
Wonder where we get our story inspirations from? Make sure to tune in to Newswatch every weeknight at 5:30 right here on WEIU to find out. Newswatch in Focus takes a local story from the week that was featured on Newswatch and goes more in depth. For more local news, weather, and sports, tune in to Newswatch every weeknight at 5:30. Welcome back. We're back now with Jennifer Alberts and Brian Tucker, and they are both students here at Eastern Illinois University. You want to tell us kind of about your level and what you're studying first?
Yeah, I'm a grad student here. This is my first year, and I'm studying small mammal responses to bioenergy crops, so relative abundances in different field types and their movements across the seasons.
Okay, and what do you hope to accomplish with your research?
We're hoping to determine how wildlife actually respond to a novel bioenergy crop. I'm studying specifically miscanthus, which is a 9-foot tall hybrid grass that they're actually hoping to burn in the Renewable Energy Center, which is our new energy project here on campus.
Okay, and what about you, Brian?
I'm working with prairie restoration habitat and in specific birds, looking at how they respond to different restoration management styles that the Department of Natural Resources uses. So.
Okay. And you're an undergraduate student
here?
Yep,
I'm an undergrad here.
Okay. Well, we thank you guys for coming on the show today, and of course we're talking about urban wildlife, as I like to call it, animals kind of moving into town. And can you each talk about a little bit why this is happening? I mean, first of all, is it even a trend?
Yeah, and that's a good question. No one's actually gone out and counted foxes. So whether or not it's a trend is kind of a little bit unknown, but it's definitely people are seeing them a lot more. And one possible reason for that is their activity period. Foxes and a lot of other animals around here are actually crepuscular, which means that they're active in dawn and dusk.
Okay.
So in the summer, no one's really awake during that time, so we don't see them as much.
Okay.
Right now, as the days get shorter and those dawn and dusk periods kind of intersect with our own activity periods, you see more animals.
Okay, so we're seeing things, what all have you heard? I've heard foxes and woodchucks and coyotes in town.
I've heard a lot about the foxes, and I've seen a lot of foxes and raccoons, but I don't know, what have you heard of?
I mean, the foxes, the raccoons and possums, they've all, I mean, we've heard them being in town. And I mean, right now in the fall, starting to get cooler out, so they're going to move more. I mean, in the summertime when it's hot, they don't move as much. So
Yeah, they're trying to stay cool,
Yep.
kind of lay low, I guess. So, okay. And a lot of people I know on campus have been noticing the campus fox, as he's been deemed the campus fox. You know, he's even in the daytime. Is there any possible explanation for him?
I mean, one explanation could be that it could be a juvenile, that the pups that are born in the spring right now is the time when they actually leave their parents.
Okay.
So it could be searching for new territory, and on campus there's plenty of stuff to eat. So
Okay, so kind of buffet styles.
Yep.
Before
Yeah.
we went on camera here, we were kind of talking about him, and you used a good analogy. Do you want to relate that?
Yeah, it's kind of like when 18-year-old boys leave their home for the first time, they don't immediately start cooking. I won't generalize a little bit, but most of them don't just start cooking. They start going to buffets and easy meals. So on campus, we have a lot of squirrels and a lot of rabbits that don't have a lot of predation pressure on them all the time. So they're maybe not the most aware of looking out for foxes. So they're kind of an easy place to go for these young foxes looking for a meal.
Okay, so that may be why we're seeing this campus fox or campus foxes, because it's hard to say if there's more than one. So.
Yeah.
Okay, and in general, what are the causes for things like this? Why would animals be moving into urban areas?
There's a lot of reasons. For the ease of food. Another thing is it is getting colder, and communities actually produce a lot of heat. So when fields get cut, they no longer have that thermal shelter. So
Okay.
another reason they could come into town is just looking for somewhere warm to be. Because buildings, no matter how much insulation they have, they do leak heat.
Right.
So
Okay.
another reason.
yeah, and as cities start to grow, as towns start to grow, we start pushing into their habitat. So the only place they may be still roaming around in the same area, but that area might have houses in it now.
Okay, so now it's populated as
Yep.
opposed to what used to just be their empty field or forest
Yep.
or whatever that might be. So is it possible there's lack of natural resources and maybe that's why they're coming in? Could that be a possibility?
I don't know if it's a lack of, rather just maybe an ease. It's just easier for them. I mean, raccoons and stuff, when you throw your garbage in a trash can, it's right there for them. It's
Right.
easy for them to get. So
Of course, they're going to go, like you said, where it's easy to get the meal.
Yeah.
So, when we're talking about animals in town, is that like a trend? Does this happen yearly? I mean, it just seems like it's something that's come up more this year. People are noticing it more this time around. Is it something that's a cycle?
I think across the country we're seeing more wildlife in urban areas, just in general, because once again, as urban areas spread, are they coming into our home or are we going into theirs? It's kind of a question. So you see things across the country, like I think it's New York and Seattle at least, there's peregrines nesting on the top of city buildings. And I've seen pictures of coyotes on subways in New York. So as a general trend, I think that urban wild boundary is getting pushed just for the size of cities.
Okay, so it's getting closer and closer.
Yeah.
You even were telling me before we came on here about foxes in Russia.
Yeah, they've actually, it's a huge, long behavioral study in Russia, but they've actually domesticated foxes through breeding. So what they do is they caught a bunch from the wild and basically determined which ones were friendliest, I guess they called it, towards humans. And they took those and bred them together. And through a series of like experiments, they actually domesticated foxes.
Okay.
The important thing is to remember that
The
was a
foxes here.
specific study. These foxes on campus are still wildlife.
Right.
They are not your pets. Don't approach them.
As would go with anything, right? I mean, you shouldn't capture rabbits or squirrels or things like that and try to keep them. They're still wild. So can you talk a little bit about that? What do we need to be doing or not doing when we see animals here in town?
Probably the number one thing is do not try to feed them. When you feed them, that animal is more than likely going to come back. And then if it keeps coming back, you're going to have other wildlife coming back. When you get a large number of wildlife in the air, that's how disease spreads a lot of time. So, and when you have an animal around, it may look friendly, but don't try to pet it or anything. I mean, that's just a good way to get bit or something. So.
What about small animals at your house? Do you need to be more diligent with them if you're seeing some wildlife in town?
Yeah, I mean, you're speaking like pet
Domestic
cats.
animals, yeah, cats and dogs.
Pet cats and dogs. Definitely take them in at night. If you're seeing foxes in your backyard, a fox can kill a cat and a small dog if you have a very small dog. So definitely be aware of them around. And I actually used to work in wildlife rehab, and a lot of things do just get too used to being around humans, and then they're still not used to cars.
Okay.
So if you're feeding a fox in your backyard, it could run into your street and get hit, which is not really what we want to have happen around. So definitely, if you have an outdoor cat that you're feeding, just putting a bowl of food out, definitely be aware of that and bring that in at night, especially because you can't watch it at night. So definitely be aware of things like that. Take your cats and dogs inside in your food bowls.
And of course, I would guess if you had an animal you saw as a nuisance, you should call the county animal control rather than try and handle it yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. Don't just run out and buy a trap.
Right.
Just have a professional take care of it.
Okay. And what about tracking animal movements? Because I know you're kind of studying small mammals. So what kinds of things do you do and do you use to track animal movement?
For my study, we specifically trap small mammals. So I'm studying mice, voles, and shrews. So it's a little bit different. With those, I use a small trap. It's about this big, kind of made out of aluminum. And once I trap an animal, we give it an ear tag, which is basically like an earring with a specific number on it. And then if I recapture it, I can see what individual it is. With animals like foxes, it's a little bit different. You try not to trap those over and over and over again. So what you can actually do is use wildlife telemetry, which means you trap it once and you actually put a little collar. It looks like a dog collar with, I don't know, how would you describe the actual?
Some sort of transmitter, something that it sends out a signal that you can then hear with specific equipment.
Yeah, and we actually brought some of that equipment today.
Fantastic.
Here you go. This is an old model, so it's a little bit bigger than the ones we use today. My advisor actually uses ones that are kind of
Really
walkie-talkie
small.
size.
Everything's gotten a little smaller over the years.
But pretty much once you have a collar on an animal, it sends off a specific radio frequency. So you can use this to actually tune into that frequency. And it will beep. And you listen to it with that. There's a cord in between these two things.
What's
usually.
the range on something like that?
It really depends on the size of the collar. So if you're sending out something on a fox,
I mean, the signal is going to be stronger than something on, say, like a small bird if you happen to put something on there. So.
It also depends on the landscape. So if you're in the middle of a forest, you'll hear it. Only when it gets closer to you, rather than out here in egg fields when they're cut, you can hear it a long ways. But this way you can actually get their actual movements, however many times you track them down and find them.
I was going to say, so is that the kind of thing where you go out and you put the collar on them once, and then you just kind of go out to the same area again and maybe see if you can find them, or?
Yeah, you basically go out. There's a lot of different. This is just one example of these types of equipment, but you pretty much drive out with a truck, and some people have an antenna on the top of their truck, and once they hear it, they'll get out and find it with the handheld. But yeah, you can get a lot of information this way about the size of a home range and how much they're moving each day. but it is a lot of man hours. There's also collars now that are what people in the wildlife field get really excited about. There's GPS collars now that will actually communicate. Yeah, global positioning, and they will communicate with a satellite, tell where that animal is, and send it to your cell phone.
Okay.
Like there's
Yeah, so you could actually, well, you could sit at home and read it off your computer, I assume, if you wanted
exactly.
to. And that was going to be one of my questions. I assume that the technology is advancing all the time, so we're getting to know more and more, I would think, about animals' movements. So. And what's the benefit of that information, knowing where they're moving?
Well, the benefit of that information is really answering the questions that you've had for us today. Why are they coming into town? Are they actually larger in number? Do they just make forays into town and then go back out? We don't really know what the movement pattern is of foxes on campus specifically right now. So is it the same one fox, or is that one fox you see one day just running in and then finding another place to be?
Okay. And what are some of the trends you're seeing in your respective fields as far as animals go? What are you finding?
I mean, in a lot of my studies, I mean, with prairie stuff, I mean, they use the prairie as more their home, their habitat, and then they actually go out of the prairie, look for food and stuff, and that's kind of the same way I mean, we're seeing here, the woodland areas be more of their habitat, and then going out at night or in the evenings and searching for food, so.
When it's a little safer in the fields and things like that, I would assume so. And what are you finding with small mammals?
My research is a little different because small mammals, of course, are much smaller scale.
Right.
So I'm working on like one farmer's land and basically seeing where they're going just day to day. And right now it seems like they're kind of staying where they are for the most part. It's really the different species that are in different field types, which is interesting right now. And also we'll see what happens across the seasons. That's what my study really does. So I started in May, and we're kind of gonna see what happens during this fall shift. And I don't know yet, but I definitely know that I'm finding shrews are only in CRP, which is a conservation reserve program.
Yeah, it's set aside land that usually used to be ag fields and is now some sort of prairie or grassland.
Okay. And so it sounds to me like it's kind of like people. They kind of stay where where they're familiar rather than, kind of going very far away. So.
Yeah, it's the movements so far I don't think they've been changing too much. I haven't done all my analysis yet because I just started in May. So
and these things take a lot of time.
They do take a lot of time. It's hard to have your data ready right when it happens.
Right, yeah. And so, we've been talking about urban wildlife or animals coming into the urban areas. And, what we haven't really covered is, should there be any concerns for people that live here in town that are seeing these animals? Is there reason to be concerned?
No, not really. I mean, just be smart about it. I mean, you shouldn't have to worry about anything unless you try to, pet something, or just be smart about it.
So common sense.
Yes.
And what are some of those common sense things that we can be reminded of? Because, I know it's the kind of thing that we think, oh, everybody knows this, but sometimes we need reminded. So what would you suggest for, when you encounter wildlife here in town?
I mean, they're wild animals, just like you said, and they don't necessarily, some of them don't interact with humans as much as others. So, I mean, if they see you, they might not know what you are, and so they may have that sense of curiosity where they kind of hang around and kind of maybe try to figure out what you are, and that doesn't mean that they're friendly. It just means that they're curious. So.
Okay.
Yeah. It definitely, you don't want to be that weird guy on the bus who sits too close to someone. So think of a wildlife like someone sitting on a bus. Don't get up in their face. Don't get in their personal space. It's uncomfortable for them as it would be for you if someone just walked up and tried to pet you.
Yeah, that's a good reminder. I mean, that's, a good thing to think about is that they're kind of like people too. They have space barriers and things, and they can really hurt you if you make them angry. So, and I know there's a lot of opportunities. I assume a lot of students here on campus are studying things like this here in town. And at Eastern, is there some kind of club or something like that students join and do studies like this?
Fish and Wildlife Ecology Club is the club within the biology department that we have that the ecology part of it kind of sets it apart from, just a fish and wildlife club, but it's more the study of fish and wildlife and looking at, I mean, helping out with people's research and stuff like that.
Okay. And would you say this is a pretty good area to be studying things like that in? I mean, it seems like we have a lot of diverse.
I mean, yeah, I mean, we have, I mean, the fisheries, I mean, we have like the Amber River, Kickapoo Creek, all that stuff. I mean, wildlife, yeah, we have, I mean, it's a lot of ag fields around here, so if you're looking at crops or something, but yeah, there's a lot of opportunities, so.
Okay. And what is some of the, you know, we've been talking about tracking wildlife. What are some of the other technological advancements? I mean, I have to assume that they map these and put them out on the internet for other people to come together and research and read and analyze. So what are some of the advancements that we're looking at?
I mean, besides telemetry, there's a lot of different ways you can study wildlife. Telemetry would be considered more of a hands-on method, but there's a lot of passive methods you can use where you don't need to touch the wildlife at all. One of those, which a lot of hunters are probably familiar with, would be just using something as simple as a trail cam,
Okay.
which this is an example of. Get that out of the way.
So that's an actual camera.
This is an actual camera. It's in a lockbox right now because people
keeps animals and things.
keeps
people.
animals and people out of your data. But it's just a little camera, and you can mount it to a tree or to a post or anything you want to, where you want to get information. And it will actually take pictures at night, which is really cool. So a time of the day when we have trouble really getting out there and seeing what's going on, you can stick a camera out there. And then you can even have 24-hour surveillance if you want. I don't know if you'd call it surveillance, but without having to be out there.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I actually have a couple of these set up during my study to see what larger mammals are doing on my sites.
And does it take video or just pictures?
It can do both.
It can, this specific camera only takes pictures. With this one, the pictures are actually so fast that you could actually set it up where it's almost like a video, but it's just not for very long. But there are some cameras that do take video, and some can even take video and audio.
Okay.
So,
So you could really get a sense of what's going on
Yep.
in a particular spot in the middle of the night. So
Yeah,
Sounds
and-
like some major advancements there.
Yeah, it's really cool. And like mine, I have set up so it takes a picture every minute between 5 p.m. and 8 a.m.
That's a lot of pictures.
That's
to
a lot
look
of
at.
pictures for me to look at, but it even improves my ability to see it versus just a movement trigger.
Okay.
And the sun actually, when it gets triggered by movement, takes a picture, 3 pictures in a row. So you can actually start to see a little bit of behavior when you're taking pictures that quickly in succession.
Okay.
So it's a lot of cool things that are going on, and wildlife technology, just like
Everything
else is not just stopping at
moving
one.
on up, isn't
Right.
it? So, and if this is something that, you know, I'm an amateur, I don't really observe, you know, I don't know, do research or anything like that. Is this something that people could get into as a hobby? You know, if someone was interested in just doing some observation in their backyard or in their woods
definitely.
or whatever,
yeah.
is this something that they can go out and buy?
if you wanted to just see what was in your backyard, I mean, the cameras range from anywhere between $50 to $100 to all the way up to $500 and $600, and so you kind of get what you pay for in some ways. But if you just want to see what's out there, people can definitely.
There's some really cool sites on the internet that actually compare all the different kinds of cameras. I don't remember the website name, but if you just go
Out there and look,
Yeah.
And because I think this seems like something that a lot of people are interested in. Obviously, if they're seeing them in town, they might want to know what's in my backyard at night. And a lot of people are bird watchers and things like that. So
bird watchers.
maybe a camera or something like that would be a good way to.
Yeah, I've heard of a lot of people putting these on their bird feeders just to see what's going on. Not so much in Illinois. I don't think it might be as big, but yeah, that's definitely an interesting thing to do. Just remember, if you put one of these out, don't bait it.
Right.
Don't put a can of cat food in front of it just because you want to.
We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
Don't feed the wild animals. So
Friendly reminder.
this would be a nice natural way.
Yeah.
Let it come naturally and see what's there. So
Yeah.
that's a good thing to remember. So is there anything else that we need to know or remember about animals here in town before we go this evening?
I don't know. We've covered covered a lot of it.
Yeah,
So.
I think we've covered a
Okay,
lot.
so it's just good to remember to be safe, don't feed the animals, and
Be aware on the road even, especially if,
that's a good point. You know, we always watch for deer and things like that during deer season, but maybe some of these other animals are something to be on the lookout for.
yeah, look down.
Yeah, look down and off to the sides, I would
Yeah,
say, instead
yeah.
of just up for the deer. So,
Yeah.
okay. Well, Jennifer Alberts and Brian Tucker, we thank you for being on Newswatch in Focus today, and we have just about run out of time for tonight, so we hope you'll stay tuned next for the Four Rivers Ag Report with Fred Peralta. In the meantime, hope you enjoyed watching this episode of Newswatch in Focus. I'm your host, Kate Pleasant. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to Newswatch in Focus. Is there a news story happening in your community? Let us know about it. You can email our newsroom at news@weiu.net. Call us at 581-2911 or write to us at 600 Lincoln Avenue, Charleston, Illinois 61920. Your story could be featured on Newswatch or right here on this show, Newswatch in Focus. For more news all the time, visit our website at weiu.net. Thanks for watching.